Welcome to Anything You Want, where every whisper can become a headline and every glance can rewrite a story. If you value inside access and unfiltered takes, please subscribe to the channel, hit the join button to support us, and don't forget to like and share this video with friends who live for celebrity sagas. Now, a tale of love, memory, and a choice that could change everything. In a world where every relationship is photographed, archived and endlessly replayed, one Instagram message managed to stop the scroll. Sara Bluma, the Italian influencer whose elegance and candidness once charmed thousands, posted a short, razor-sharp declaration that instantly became the talk of social platforms. She wrote not as a performer addressing an audience, but as someone setting a boundary, that the past, if allowed to haunt the present, suffocates whatever fragile intimacy remains. Her sentiment read like an ultimatum: live for the now or accept the consequences. The tone was personal, the implication unmistakable, and the public's imagination ignited. Within hours that message was dissected by commentators, translated into headlines, and scattered into private chat groups. The person whom most readers assumed the lines targeted was not a stranger but a familiar figure within the same orbit, a past affection whose shadow, so the narrative went, might still linger. When a private plea becomes a public proclamation, it forces everyone who has watched, fans, friends, and the press alike, to pick a side or at least to ask which truth they prefer to believe. The catalyst, as many sources described it, was a gaze, brief, inscrutable, yet heavy with implication. At an awards ceremony in Italy, on a night that otherwise promised pomp and celebration, those present later recounted a fleeting eye contact between Yaman and another high-profile actress. To onlookers, their meeting of gazes lasted only a moment. To the tabloids, it was an ember that could reignite a long-claimed flame. Social media responded with the speed of rumor: screenshots, time-stamped posts, and dozens of speculative threads debating whether an old chapter had reopened or whether a simple moment had been maliciously recast. Sara's demeanor at the event attracted attention too: reserved, guarded, a smile that did not reach the eyes. Backstage sources told reporters she confided fears that the relationship she had believed in might be under siege by unresolved history. People close to Sara described her as exhausted rather than theatrical, weary from the recurring headlines that paired her partner's name with memories she could not erase. On the other side, confidants of the actor described him as a man pulled by sentiment, sometimes inadvertently, back toward terrains he thought had been closed. When a name associated with former romances is uttered, whether in jest or in earnest, it draws a visible reaction. Those who stand beside Sara said she felt that reaction burn like salt. She could tolerate imperfection, but she would not endure perpetual comparison. After Sara's public message, watchers around the world expected a reply. A rebuttal, an explanation, or at least some clarifying words would have pacified the gossip mills, if only briefly. Instead, the actor chose quiet. For days his feed remained intentionally spare, punctuated by a solitary monochrome photograph accompanied by a terse caption about silent victories. The phrasing was enigmatic and, to many, evasive. A development that intensified speculation was a clandestine trip. Reports, drawn from fan sightings and local anecdotes, suggested the actor made an unannounced visit to Istanbul. Whether this journey was orchestrated for introspection, reconciliation with the past, or a covert rendezvous, it fed the narrative engine. A photograph surfaced of him walking along the Bosphorus. Shortly before or after, his former romantic counterpart had shared an image from a strikingly similar location. The parallels were seized upon online: the same waters, the same skyline, and a million conjectures. From Milan to a television set in Italy, Sara's emotional state was on display in a way that felt raw and unmediated. When asked what wounds her most in matters of the heart, she chose language that resonated beyond the personal. To be loved and still feel like someone else's echo is a pain that words understates. Her reply, restrained, crystalline, echoed across languages and platforms. Audiences who expected a polished performance instead witnessed a human plea: love must be present, not haunted. Social responses were immediate and polarized. Some rallied to her side with public messages of support and solidarity. Others parsed her statement as a deliberate public pressure, a form of strategic honesty meant to force a decision. Regardless, the effect was the same, an escalation from private hurt to public drama. As the conversation intensified, the other central figure in this soap of real lives published a seemingly oblique post. A portrait in which she faced a mirror was captioned with a phrase about reflections and conscience. Delivered with poetic brevity, the image was interpreted by a large portion of the audience as a pointed commentary, or at least a reminder that some reflections linger. Such posts, ambiguous by design, do double duty: they express and they provoke. The timing, occurring in the wake of another's vulnerability, amplified the impact. Was this a defensive message, an invitation to introspection, or merely the modulation of an artist's muse? The public preferred narrative over nuance and chose to read it as part of the unfolding drama. Whether this exchange marks an intermission or a permanent ending is still unclear. Yet for those who watched from the periphery, the scene read like a denouement: two people who had tried and measured the limits of their devotion now confronting a fork in the road. What do you think, viewers? Should someone be required to bury their past to earn a future? Or is it the partner's responsibility to carry patience and compassion? Tell us in the comments below, and while you're there, make sure to support anything you want by hitting subscribe, smacking that like button, and if you can, click the join button to help us keep digging into stories like this. Which celebrity couple would you like us to cover next? Drop names, we read every comment. Even if a formal separation is announced, or conversely, if reconciliation quietly occurs, this episode will persist in the cultural memory. Not because of malice but because it forces a larger reflection about fame, intimacy, and what we owe one another in relationships exposed to the marketplace of public opinion. Sara's declaration, Can's silence, and the other party's symbolic mirror image together form a modern parable about how past attachments can complicate present commitments. For the individuals involved, the consequences are personal and real. For the audience, the saga is a mirror in itself. It reflects our appetite for narrative, our hunger to infer motives, and our readiness to judge. Whether this story resolves into a healed partnership or a clean break, it has already reshaped the way many view each figure, not only as celebrities but as people navigating the same painful choices private citizens do, albeit with an audience. This is Anything You Want, where we pursue the stories that matter to you. If you'd like more in-depth rundowns like this one, click subscribe, press like, and consider joining the channel to support our work. Share your verdict below. Will he let the past go, or will history repeat? Which side of this story moves you most? We read and respond to as many comments as we can. Until next time, keep asking, keep watching, and never stop looking for anything you want.